Hey everybody, welcome back to Wallet Reset. It's Mike Malborough once again. In this video, I'm going to talk to you guys about how I beat depression, by using discipline. And it's a really weird story, but before I get into it, let me just tell you this. Years ago, when I was like 19, I joined the military. I served overseas in Kuwait. And I didn't go into Iraq during the time of the Iraqi war, but I was being used on Operation Iraqi Freedom, which essentially means that I'm an Iraq war veteran. All right, so now during the time that I was over there, I didn't go and get into any gun battles. I was a medic, so I was in Kuwait as support, which means that when people did get injured in Kuwait, they would fly them down to us. We would basically get them to a certain place that they needed to be in order to fly out of Kuwait, out of there, and go into Germany, where we had a hospital for them to recover in when they were seriously injured enough. And believe it or not, even though you are not necessarily being shot at, it's possible to go through really traumatic things, even though you're not shot at, just by seeing injuries or seeing deaths or seeing whatever. Anyway, long story short, a couple years go by. I'm out of the military. I have a family, all this other stuff. And as you know from previous videos, I built some wealth. I'm doing good. And I'm at the same time seeking to fill a hole that's in my desire, I guess is the best way to say it. Long story short, I find out that I'm suffering from PTSD, and I didn't. I mean, I kind of had a guess that I had PTSD, but I didn't know. And so what I did was, I was in a really tumultuous area in my life. My marriage was in shambles. My lifestyle, just everything about you changes when something is going wrong with you mentally, right? When you're having issues with certain things and the ways that you think about things. And so everything is affected by how you think. One of the things that really, really got me to change, right, is so after I got diagnosed with PTSD, me and my wife were already split up, and years go by, and I'm just kind of like trying to figure some stuff out. But I get to this point where, as you know, well, you may not know, but when you first get diagnosed with something and you're trying to get your VA benefits in terms of getting paid for your disability, getting paid for certain stuff, you get certain benefits. It's actually a longer process. It's not like I go do my paperwork and then a week later I'm good. I think for me it took about a year and a half. So during that time, I'm like, I'm in a really bad way. I was living with my grandparents. I was not working. I was drinking heavily, smoking weed, doing a lot of stuff that just wasn't really beneficial for me. And I got to a point where I was like, okay, well, what do I actually want to do with my life? If I'm not going to be normal, if I'm not going to be normal for the rest of my life, what do I want to do with myself? Because I can't just sit here at my grandparents' house and be, what it seems like I am at the time, which is like just a waste of skin, essentially. And that makes you even more depressed when you feel like you're not doing anything, which is it's funny because while I was building my wealth, when I was married, my goal was to build passive income so that I wouldn't have to work. And then as soon as I got to a point where I didn't have to work, once I got my VA benefits and once I had, spent time really just trying to do a lot of different things that I could either enjoy or what have you, and I was just trying to I was just really trying to see what I could do with myself, essentially. But I got to a point where it's like, okay, you're not doing work. I'm not working, but I hate it. And I thought that this was what I wanted, but I hated it. And so I had to really stop and say, okay, what do I actually want? What if I approached it wrong, essentially. I approached it like the good life means that you don't have to do anything. And that's not really necessarily the case. The good life is being fulfilled with everything you do on some level. Now, you're not going to love everything you do at every moment of time, but if you're doing something that in the majority of the time you're really engaged, really feel like you're helping people, or you're challenging yourself and growing, you can make that your life's mission, and it doesn't feel like work. So one of the things I got involved with was film and acting and so on and so forth. And I haven't tried for any big productions or anything like that, but I go every week, except for this week, because right now there's a hurricane hitting Virginia. Hurricane Florence, for those who see this years from now. But I just really got to a point where I started to really enjoy acting. And so as time went on, I started to do that more. I still do my marketing and I still do business and all this other stuff, but I feel like what I did was I had to find what I was passionate about. And so let me get to the point, right? The point that I was originally going towards when I started to tell you all of this background is when you have depression, when you have anxiety, when you're procrastinating, when you have all of those things kind of spiral together. And I didn't know this at the time. So I got to a point where I just had super serious depression, and I had to figure out a way out of it. And I was sick of being depressed, like angry about the fact that I kept getting to a point where I was getting depressed. And I had to just basically say, you know what? Tomorrow I'm starting from scratch. Like literally, I'm going to start by just hopping out of bed and making my bed, right? But that day, I just sat in the bed. I literally didn't get up. I sat in the bed and I let myself go through the depression with the logical understanding that I always get through it. I've never not gotten through a depression. It might be longer. It might be weeks or months, but when you accept your depression, when you accept a depression at the moment that it's happening, when you're just like, okay, I'm struggling, and it's okay. I'm gonna get through it because I always do. When you have the logical, I don't know what to call it, wherewithal to just detach yourself from what you're going through, you get this it's like a light switch almost, where it's like you realize this isn't. It's bad, but it's not. I can actually deal with it if I know that this is not where life is for me from now on. If I literally just look at it like I'm going to get through this, let me just go through this, and I choose to only go through this today. And then, so what I did the next day is I hopped up, I made my bed, and I did this thing, like I just said, woo, right? And it was like, it's the cheesiest thing ever. It makes me laugh still. But looking back at it now, that's the most important part, right? And most people don't celebrate small things. So now, think about this, how I really got this idea. When you're potty training a child, if you have any children, when you potty train a child, or when you have a friend that's potty training a child or something like that, what happens is they go pee or they go, number two, and as soon as they get done, everybody claps for them, right? And it's the smallest thing if you're an adult, but when you're an infant, that's huge. I just went potty in the toilet. Clap, clap, clap. It's a small celebration. And I just got to the understanding that, if you were to celebrate your small successes, the things that we kind of just look over, right? The things that we've done so many times that it's not even a win for us anymore. But think about how bad it would feel if you peed on yourself, right? How bad it would feel if you literally used the bathroom in your pants. If that was something that was your normal, you would clap for it still, right? It wouldn't matter if you're 45, you'd be happy. So ultimately, I had to understand, like, I'm going to celebrate my small success. And I'm going to I'm just going to get a little bit better every day, like 1% better every day. So that first day, I made my bed. The next day, I made my bed. And so I was like, okay, what else can I do? So I hopped in the shower, and then I got dressed, and I brushed my teeth, and I did this, and then I was like, you know what else can I do? Because it's only been like 30 minutes. I thought this would take a lot longer. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to push it. I'm just going to go out and have some fun. So I went out, and I ended up doing a lot more, and so on. So since then, I have not had a bout with depression, and that's almost been 2 years from ago. And so thankfully, because of the fact that I've been on a consistent journey of doing the things that I'm passionate about, that give me fulfillment, and second, that I can feel like I want to progress in, right? Those two things by themselves have helped me a lot. And I don't want to make it sound like it's easy, because it requires a lot of discipline, a lot of focus on what you're thinking about, and a lot of focus on why you're thinking it. And you have to literally force yourself to do the thing that you hate doing, that you in your mind are like, I don't want to do this. This is so stupid. You're gonna really think that to yourself at times, and you just gotta do it. And you're gonna feel silly, and that's the point, because feeling silly makes you smile. And once you smile, it gets easier, right? There's a way that things work, and I don't want to get too deep in like all the like physical, biological stuff, but essentially, when you smile or when you're happy, that's actually a chemical in your brain. The more times you allow yourself to be happy, the easier it is for your brain to make the chemical that makes you happy. So happiness feeds on itself. The other thing is, when you are sad or when you're depressed, that feeds on itself. And it gets stronger and it gets easier to do. So you have to choose to be happy until it's easy to be happy. So ultimately, that's what I did. And it took a lot of discipline. I also, and this is going to be probably like the most beneficial for everybody out there who may not understand how this works, right? And this helped because I started acting, which is why I brought up that acting part of it. So what helps with acting is that when you're getting in character and you have to act out a scene, you have to visualize something that gives you that emotion. And what I had to do to beat my depression is, when I was first starting to try to increase my happiness, I wasn't 100% always. Sometimes I would feel down. I wouldn't classify it as being depressed, but I would get down. So what I did is I looked at myself like a character, and like I'm playing this character called Mike. I am not me. I am a character, and this character has to be happy for this moment in time, for whatever scene that is my life. And how do I do that? I have to think of something that makes me happy. What makes me happy? What am I thankful for? What am I grateful for? What makes me smile? My kids, really good meal, traveling, hitting a goal, meeting a pretty woman, even though I have my girlfriend, you know what I'm saying. The whole entire thing is, I had to find out that you have to visualize happiness. You have to visualize yourself being the things that you want in order to feel what you want, in order to be able to just not be on the other side of that fence and be down and depressed and sad. And so ultimately, it was a long process. Like I said, it's been 2 years. And thankfully, in that 2 years, I've been cognizant enough on a consistent basis to avoid full-on depression. And yeah, you get sad. You have like little negative bouts here and there. but you catch yourself, and it gets easier to catch yourself. So if you deal with depression, you have to build the discipline to do two things, right? And number one is to start from scratch. Start as though there's nothing on your plate that you don't want. And if that means letting go of things that you don't want, that's exactly what you have to do. And it's gonna be hard. There's no shortcuts, there's no easy way to do it. But once you do it, you have a clean plate. And once you have a clean plate, you get to decide what to put on your plate, right? And it's essentially like a buffet for life. And you have to take what you want, not take what you don't want. And you have to stand up for yourself because you are responsible for your happiness. And then the other thing is you have to, I would say what's more important is focusing on what your thoughts are and focusing on how you react to what's happening to you externally and removing the things that make you feel anxiety, make you feel depression, make you feel sadness, make you feel anything that you don't want to feel. And there are times where I still will watch like a horror movie or a sad story or something like that, but I'm not constantly doing it. I got to the point where I literally cut off the radio, didn't watch TV, I didn't do anything that would feed me information that I didn't have control of. All right, and I would say if you are just depressed right now, if you're just down in the dumps, cut off the TV, cut off the radio, cut off your friends, right? And I want you to write. I want you to write what you want, what your ideal life is. And that's going to be hard because most of you won't know what you want, right? But just instead of want, I guess the easier way to say it is like, what makes you happy? Write down what makes you happy, right? When was the last time you were happy? Write out the exact thing that happened as your memory. Think it through. And do not quit on yourself because when it gets hard, you're gonna want to be like, I don't feel like doing this. This is difficult, blah, blah, blah. Just do it, all right? Write a paragraph, write a sentence. And when you're done, celebrate. Be happy, like, woo! It's gonna feel dumb, but do it. And then tomorrow, do 2 things that make you happy. And then the next day, do 3 things that make you happy. And then so on and so forth. And the next thing you know, you're going to forget that you were depressed. You're going to be like, oh, shoot, how long has it been since I've been depressed? Because that's what happens to me, right? I don't take medicine for PTSD anymore, thankfully. And this is how it happened. I had to teach myself I had to reprogram myself, essentially. I had to program myself for happiness and for success. And so that's what I'm trying to share with you. So if you're struggling, please take this video, please take everything that I've said, listen to it over and over again if you have to, but understand that you are not a victim. You have control over your life and your thoughts. And if you take control, listen to me, if you take control, your life will go exactly how you want it to go. But if you don't take control, somebody will. And that somebody doesn't care as much about you as they should. So anyway, this is it, Mike Malborough. I hope that has helped you guys. I hope that somebody is going to watch this, beat your depression, and just be like rock solid. And if you do, please let me know. That would mean the world to me. Anyway, it's Mike Malborough signing off. See you guys tomorrow in the next video.